Good morning, everybody. I'm going to show you how to solve 16 times 13 with area model, ratio table, doubling and halving, and then checking our answer with division, so the inverse operation. Okay, so if you've watched my other videos, a lot of these strategies are going to look familiar, but I'm going to keep posting them each day for a little while because as some of you know, we're doing distance learning and a lot of my students are doing, all of our students are in 4th grade at Foothouse are doing these strategies each day, so this is for you guys out there. But anybody else out there who finds this helpful, I'm so glad. Feel free to follow along as well. So the first thing with area model for 16 times 13 is you break up these numbers into expanded form. You could really do a lot of different combinations. I'm going to stick with 10 and 6, but you really could do like 5 and 5 and 3 and 3, whatever you want to do to break up 16, so long as the value still equals 16. And I'm going to do 10 and 3, and then you're going to make a box, and you'll put your 13 on the value of your 13 on one side, and then the value of your 16 on another side. Everywhere you see a plus sign, you make a line, and then here it's 10 times 10 equals 100. 10 times 6 equals 60. 3 times 10 equals 30. And then 3 times 6 equals 18. Okay, so then you take these values inside here, 100, 60, 30, and 18, and you add them. And I always encourage my students to add them biggest to smallest. So 100, 60, 30, 18, and that way you can really put a place value chart around it and make sure your numbers stay clean and organized. So 8 plus all those zeros is going to be 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 1, 2. So far our answer is 208. Now, as we're solving with the other strategies, we're going to hope we keep getting that answer right. That's what we're looking for here. It's also, by doing other strategies, it's also another way of double checking that we did the right thing the first time. So for the next one here, we're going to do a ratio table. And what I always say about ratio tables is they sound scary, but if you like to skip count, then you're going to like ratio tables. So basically, think about it like this. We're just going to skip count by 13 16 times. Does that make sense? So I make a big place value chart here. I'm going this way just to save space, but you can always draw it this way as well. And then you can put 13. We're going to count by 13s 16 times. So let's see, I want to end with 16. I'm not going to have room to write all of it, but I'll do a few here. 3, 4, 5, well, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll just kind of skip ahead a little bit because we're not able to fit all those here. But I'll do 6, and then we'll do 9 and 10. So in between here, we would have 7 and 8, but we don't need to show those because we really just want to get to 16. Now, what's great about this is really it's just adding 13. So 13 plus 13. Each time in these rows, and then that number plus 13, then that number plus 13, then that number plus 13, and so on. Or you can think about it as like 13 times 1 is 13. And then whatever that number is, so 13 times 2 would be that number. 13 times 3 would be that number. 13 times 4 would be that number. I'll show you as we go on. I'm going to use a different color just to make sure you guys can really see because it's kind of small here. So for example, 13 times 1 is 13. 13 times 2, or 13 plus 13, is 26. 13 times 3, or 13 plus 13 plus 13, is 39. 13 times 4, or 13 plus 13 plus 13 plus 13, is 54. Does that make sense? So you really just could go 13 times 2 is 26. 13 times 3 is 39. 13 times 4 is 54. Or you could say 13, this 26 plus 13 is 39. 39 plus 13 is 54. 54 plus 13 is 65. Does that make sense? Okay, so here it would be 13 times 5 equals 65. So you can do two different things here. You can just add 13 to your answer each time here, or do 13 times whatever that number is, okay? So I'm gonna fill in these next couple for us. So 65 plus 13 would be 78, or 13 times 6 equals 78. And then for 9, it'd be 117, and then 10, and this is always, I always try to encourage my students, when you get to numbers like 10 and 11, where you know 13 times 10 is 130, because it's basically just 1 times 13 and with another 0, that's a good way of double checking that as you've been going along the way, you've been on track. So I always ask myself, okay, now if I did 13 times 10, oh, that is 130, and then 117 plus 13, that's also 130. So phew, I'm on the right track, excellent. And then down to 16, so we skipped a few numbers here because of our space that we have here, but 13 times 16 is 208, or 130 plus. Oh, sorry, and actually it would be whatever the answer to 13 times 15 is, which in this case is going to give us 208. Okay, so we got the same answer here that we got here, so that's promising. We're doing good. We're on the right track. Now the next one is doubling and halving, and this is a fun strategy because it's similar to a couple other strategies where we're trying to kind of bring one value all the way to the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 16 and our 13 here, and we're going to break this number down. We're going to keep breaking it in half, and we're going to keep multiplying this one up. So we're really just moving all the values over here, and hoping that we can get this value here to 1, and then we'll basically have 1 times something equals m, and we're hoping that that something is going to be 208. So let's just try it. So 16 divided by 2 is going to give us 8 times 13 times 2, which is 26. Now, can we keep breaking this down in half? We can, right? So if we broke this down again, divided by 2 again, and then if we do that, then we have to multiply this side by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 26 times 2 is 52. And that equals m, and we can keep going, right? So then 4 divided by 2, and then 52 times 2. So I'm basically I keep breaking this part in half, and I keep adding half here. So I'm really just moving half my value over. So then 4 divided by 2 is 2. 52 times 2 is 104. Okay, I could still go, right? One more time. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 104 times 2 is going to give me 208. So now I have 1 times 208 equals m. So basically m equals 208, because anything times 1 is just itself, right? So because 1 times 208 is just 208 equals m. So again, we got our same answer here. Now, I love double checking my multiplication with division, so I'm going to almost always show this option to you guys. It's a really, really good strategy to make sure that you're on the right track here. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is called partial quotients is the strategy. I'll put that here for you. Some people call it big 7 because you start by just making a big 7. See? Okay, so we're dividing 208, which is our answer we keep getting, by 13, one of our factors, okay? And we're gonna hope we get 16, because basically if we get 16, then the inverse of this would be 13 times 16 is 208. So we're gonna take our answer, our m, our 208, and divide that by 13, one of our factors, and hope we get 16, okay? Let's go. So when I do partial quotients, and a lot of you guys are just getting started with them, just try easy, friendly numbers like 10s and 100s and 20s. Friendly numbers that you know you can multiply by easily. And I know that just even looking at what we did already, 10 times 13, right? That's a really easy one. That will give us pretty close to 208. So the strategy here is to say 13 times what gets me close to 208, okay? I'm gonna do 10, that will give me 130, because we wanna get this column here down to 0, okay? So then I'm gonna do 130 here. And then our answer at the end is gonna be all these numbers here in the middle. So I'm actually gonna box them for you so you can keep track, okay? So then you subtract here. So 0 minus 8 is 8. Can't do that here, so this becomes a 1, that becomes a 10. And that becomes a 7, and then 1 minus 1 is 0, so just cross that off, so we have 78, okay? So now I'm gonna do 13 times what gets me close to 78, and I'm actually gonna just use 2's because I wanna show you that even if you're at a total loss here and like, I have no idea what 13 times something is to get me close to 78, and you just, even looking back here, it just doesn't make sense quite yet, then just do numbers you know, like 2. You can definitely multiply by 2, right? So 13 times 2, we could probably find it somewhere up here too, right? Let's look. No, 13 times 2 here. We do have it here. 13 times 2 is 26, and we have it here. 13 times 2 is 26, okay? So we have 26. That number goes here. 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So then we have 13 times what gets us close to 52 again. I'm just gonna keep doing 26. Do 2 and give me 26, and I'm just gonna show you that you can really use any number. Okay, so you need to borrow. Here that becomes a 4, that becomes a 12. So we have 6 and we have 2. And oh my goodness, look at this. 13 times what gets me close to 26? Well, 13 times 2 gives us 26. That's perfect. Okay? Because you want this column here to be 0. And we did. Remember how I said your answers are going to be these boxes here? So let's see what we got. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we did 208. Our answer, divided by 13, and we got 16. Do you see that here? We did 208 divided by 13, and we got 16. Awesome. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.